And there we are. We are now live again. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Jerry Cartsinell. I'm a board certified pediatrician, and I come to you almost every week bringing to you a topic that interests all of us when dealing with children on the autism spectrum and even neurotypical children and even adults, right? So today's topic is going to be on allergies. And we are in the midst of fall allergies, depending on where you are in the country right now. I am seeing a lot of kids whose, on the autism spectrum, behaviors are declining. I see this every year in spring and in the fall. And, even they've done the studies in general pediatrics that shows that neurotypical children during allergy season have a hard time with focusing, have a hard time with concentrating, hyperactive. And that's neurotypical kids. Our kids, boy, they can become more stimmy, more irritable, not sleep. But what other symptoms do we have when it's allergies? And they kind of overlap many of the other symptoms that our children have too. They can have itchy and watery eyes, just like everyone else. They can have a stuffed sinus or sinus pressure in the dark circles under the eyes. They can have nasal swelling. Remember, children on the autism spectrum can have what other children have too. They have allergies, they have constipation, they have diarrhea, they have headaches, they can have allergies. And it compromises their activities of daily living. They can have wheezing, coughing, asthma, sore throat, scratchy, itchy back of the throat. Their eczema can get worse. They can get itchy on the skin where when you scratch the skin, you can actually see what we call dermatographia. It raises and it leaves like a Polaroid picture. You can actually carve a letter into their arm, wait for a minute, and then see the letter H kind of raise up and be read. That's called dermatographia. Those are all symptoms of having an allergic sensitivity that's a little bit high, and it can affect their sleep as well, and their appetite. It just miserable for them because they don't know quite how to deal with it. It's hard for all of us, especially like when my wife gets itchy eyes or something. Here the Florida weather is finally cooling down. We want to sit outside. There's a gentle breeze, and the next thing you know, we have allergic eyes or something going on. All right, so what do we do for these children? How do we diagnose it? How do we make sure we're on the right track when we see some of these behaviors? Well, very often in my clinic, I will draw an IgE test just to see how allergic to the world they are. And for some reason, many of these children have way too much IgE. Immunoglobulin type E. This is what sets us up to be allergic, that most allergists recognize. The allergies to dogs or cats or house dust mites. Those are IgE mediated allergies. So if you have a lot of IgE just sitting around in your body, you're going to be allergic to something one way or another. Depending on the laboratory that you're going to, usually IgE levels are under 80, and for the kids 4 to 10, and I'll see 700, 800, 4,000. My clinic high was 7,000, and that child's skin was just like a molting snake. It was just peeling off him. This kid was so allergic. Okay, so we definitely have high levels of IgE. Now, the typical allergist would do the skin prick test on the back, and in that skin prick test, they do panel for foods, panel for the environment, food panels too. But again, they're looking for IgE responses, which can be quite severe and something to take note of with these kids. The environmental allergies like dogs, cats, mold, those are huge issues. What about our plants? Our plants in the fall, we generally think of ragweed allergies, and but a lot of things pollinate in the fall when the weather starts getting cooler, August through October, and you'll see sunflower, goldenrod, marigold, sage, pigweed. There's just a lot of plants that will pollinate, and we can be allergic to one or more of them. and it can cause wheezing, like I said, for those who are going to have airway issues, right down to asthma attacks for them. It's interesting, mold also likes to start causing allergy issues. Now, we talked about mold last time we got together. We can actually be colonized with mold, but we can be allergic to mold, just the dust of mold, the spores. And mold loves to grow when it's damp and moist and wet. So we have all these leaves that are falling, rain that's falling, creating a nice, moist, damp area for mold to grow and pollinate. So that can be a big problem too. So we're not always talking about the mold in the house, the mold behind the walls, the mold in the basement, just outdoor mold. Okay, there's always mold outside too. Okay, so when we see these kids, they tend to be having problems sleeping all of a sudden. They're more irritable, they're cranky, they're not using language as much, they seem more dull, they seem to be more unfocused. They can actually have some hyperactivity. What do we do to treat that? Well, one of the ways to treat it is obviously to not go outside as much. Easier said than done, especially with special needs kids. They need to get outside, they need to have exercise. I use in my clinic a form of what's called quercetin to help decrease the impact of allergies. And I also like to use Zyrtec. And Zyrtec's been very, very effective in helping the allergies. If it's in the nose, we can do, if the child tolerates, nasal sprays. And I think nasal sprays that are saline in nature are better than the steroids. So quercetin, Zyrtec, a nasal spray that is saline in nature. I can also use steroids, especially if it's starting to swell in there and get large. The allergist will offer immunotherapy, that's the weekly allergy shots. The naturopathic doctors and some MDs will also recommend LDI, low dose immunotherapy, or low dose antigen therapy, LDA. Those are all good ways of helping. My son was very, very allergic to the world, and we use something called provocation neutralization desensitization therapy that has to be done by someone very knowledgeable in the field of allergy, usually an allergist or somebody who's working with the allergist. Definitely knows how to basically neutralize your allergic reactions. So the biggest issues, though, are right now in the fall, the pollination of ragweeds, and that's where our kids are getting bad. Now, some children are year-round allergic. Some children are seasonally allergic, spring and fall, summer and winter. And like I say, and some of our kids are lucky and they get to be allergic all the way through. All right, so let's see if we have any questions for today. Dave, I don't see anybody joining at all for a question and answer right now. So we can also talk a little bit about the food allergies too. You know, allergies are cumulative, and you might be allergic to cats and you might have a hard time in spring, but if you pet a cat during springtime and then go mow the grass, you can be in big trouble. Food allergies can be a big issue for our kids too, not generally thought of as fall allergies, because they tend to be, unless they're only eating certain foods in fall like pumpkin, but they tend to be a problem year-round. Now, that kind of a study, we can do blood work, and it's a immunoglobulin G4 test, and we can see just about how allergic those children are as well to certain foods, and then we can remove those foods from their diet. It's also an indication. People always ask me whether that is a component of leaky gut, and the answer is yeah. I think the more food allergies you have, the greater issue you're going to have with leaky gut. So then the practitioner is going to help you with how to repair a leaky gut. First of all, you want to remove the allergic foods. You want to treat abnormal bacteria and or yeasts that are growing there, and then supplements that can help heal the gut and I'll use zinc carnosine, and I'll use anti-inflammatories. I like to use Anhansa, and I like to use something called L-glutamine if the child can tolerate it. So we can repair that leaky gut, but it's going to take a little bit of work. All right, so let me see if we have any questions out there, and I don't see any coming in right now. So we are set then for today's episode on allergies. It's brief, but if we get down to the point, if you have any questions, you can always email us here at the office at mendingnaturally@gmail.com, and we'll be able to answer those questions in the near future. So until then, have a great rest of your day and this week, and I look forward to coming back to you next week and bringing to you another topic. Thank you so much now. Bye-bye.